Hey, happy Friday, and welcome to the latest weekly edition where I'm about to share some really surprising news that came to me this week that I was not expecting to figure out for about a month. But before I do that, I want to introduce myself for those of you who may not already know me. I'm Michelle Warner, the creator of Michelle Builds It, where I'm offering you a real-time live look at what it's really taking me to build a brand new course and info product based business. So, what was the big news this week? Big news is I know what this company is going to be about. And some of you guys may laugh if you know me well, because I know a couple of people I've shared this with have laughed. But I've decided that my company is all going to be about funnels and automation for early stage entrepreneurs. And why do I think that you might laugh? Well, because apparently this was completely obvious to everybody other than myself. I honestly didn't think this was what my company was going to be about, or it was on a list of possibilities, but I was not sold on it at all. But then this week, again, I got away from the business a little bit and I stepped away. It was a little bit of a forced step away. But in that process, all of a sudden, all the information I've been collecting over the past month just accumulated in my brain in some way, and I knew that this was what I wanted to focus my business on. It's not going to be on list building, it's not going to be about business models, it's not going to be about a million other things I know about online business. It is going to be about bringing funnels and automation to the earlier stage entrepreneurs, and I could not be more excited about that, as I've now said probably 50 times in this video, because clarity feels so good. And even though I wasn't expecting to know this for about a month, because that's where it falls in my normal process, I am rolling with it because it makes a ton of sense. And again, everyone I've shared it with is kind of like, oh, duh, I thought that's what the business was going to be all along, and you were just pretending you didn't know. I didn't know, I swear to God. But that's what it's going to be. And so we're moving forward on that. And that's been interesting because sometimes, when you have these revelations in the middle of a process that you think you're following, all of a sudden that throws the process totally out of whack. So that's happened a little bit this week in a really good way, right? Because now I know what my end game is. So I'm really adjusting my strategy quite a bit to reflect that. But before I get into that, I'm going to back up a little bit as to how it happened that I figured out what my business is going to be about a month before I expected to. And one of the ways I did that was by starting to think about the value proposition within the business. And this is the next stage of the business model canvas that I've been sharing with you. Last week we talked about customers, and this week I was talking about the value proposition. And in my mind, I was cheating a little bit, and I was only really thinking about mission and values and what I stand for, and some of those basics. I didn't want to get into products too much. But as I started to think about those things, and as I again got away from my laptop and was just doing other things, this was just mingling in my brain, and all of a sudden I realized, wait, I this is a funnel-based business for so many obvious reasons. One of those including by looking at a competitive matrix and looking at where I can position myself in the market. And that is another big theme of this week that I'm going to send you guys a bunch of resources for. There will be linked underneath this video or above this video, probably both places, where we talk about, or I talk about competition. I feel extremely strongly about the whole topic of competition because I know a lot of you watching this are going to want to say, Michelle, why are we talking about competition? Because we're not supposed to believe competition exists if we're just ourselves. I've had it with that argument, you guys. I get it. I get that it helps from a mindset perspective. And I also get that if you are authentically yourself, you can eliminate a lot of competition. But that does not mean that competition doesn't exist. It just means that by being yourself and understanding where you fit in the market, you can do a much better job of connecting with the people who should naturally be working with you. But you are putting yourself at such a huge disadvantage if you just put your head down and say, there's no competition if I'm myself, I'm going to ignore everything. What you instead want to do is understand who you are at your core and how that fits into the rest of the market, at which point you will see how clearly you own your own little space in that market, and at which point your message, your mind, your everything will be so much more grounded in the value that you can provide. So now I'm going off on a whole competition rant, but trust me on this one. There's a blog post, there are some resources that I have linked to of how I set up competitive spectrums and a competitive matrix to identify what is most important to me and how that translates into the marketplace. And just by playing this around in my head while I was away from my laptop this week, I unexpectedly figured out everything about what my business should be. And so then I came back and plotted it and went through the formal process that I like to go through just to confirm. And so I want to show that process to you guys because this makes competition completely unscary, and it actually makes it incredibly empowering for you to understand what your unique situation is. So it does take that idea of there's no competition because I'm me. It takes it and it empowers that to be more than just a statement you tell yourself over and over again to feel less scared about the other people in your market, and more into something that you can put into actionable content and ground yourself into feeling great about your place in the world. Because let me tell you, if there's truly no competition in your market, you don't have business because nobody wants what you're selling. So let's totally reframe the competition question. And this is a big rant that I go on all the time. So just warning, we'll probably be talking about this again. I feel so strongly about this topic. So please go over to that blog post. It's actually like a 15-minute video I walk you through, and there are worksheets and a bunch of other resources to help you understand that competition is not evil. Okay. So that's a big theme of this week. Another big theme, obviously, was figuring out what my business was going to do. And that precipitated the whole strategy shift that I alluded to earlier in this conversation, where obviously I've been booking guest posts and doing a lot of things to try to start some list building momentum, but not knowing exactly what the business was going to be. In many ways, I was doing that to build momentum and energy for myself, but I didn't know if I was building the most strategic list because I didn't know what the business was. And so now that I have a better sense of what the business is going to be, I've really taken an opportunity to step back this week and reassess the promotion schedule and the promotions that I'll be doing. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up with that. I'm still guest posting, actually had a couple of guest posts go live. One just today. They haven't actually been shared yet. They're just live, but they haven't been shared with the site's audiences yet. So I don't have results to share with you. But all of that stuff is still ongoing in the background. I booked some interviews this week. So all of that is moving, but now it's going to have focus. I know what I'm going to want to talk about much more than I did before. So that is a huge positive. And another kind of obvious statement, though, that has caused me to rethink a ton of stuff in the background. So obvious statement to say in one sentence, not so obvious in terms of executing it, right? It takes a lot more time to actually think that through. And then along with that, I'm also going to dip my toes into thinking about what the products are actually going to be. So it's great that I have a theme that I want to do entry-level funnels and automation, but that doesn't mean I know what the products are. So I'm actually going to set up a whole free training series in June that is just going to be a mind dump of everything that I know about funnels and an exploration of what is most valuable to people. Because again, I learn and I figure this stuff out by doing. So yes, I can do all the research in the world, and trust me, I have, about what the needs are around funnels. But until I start to execute it, it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to set up a whole webinar free training series. I have no idea how extensive it's going to be, but I'll probably put myself on some crazy stupid schedule because I tend to like to jump off cliffs, where I can start sharing this information and seeing what really interests people and what affects people and what is the most valuable, and start planning my product offerings around that. So, wow, it has been a big week. That is a lot that's going on. You know, personally, again, I keep being reminded of the value of getting away from the laptop, because that is where I figure all of this stuff out. And those have always been forced lessons before, and I'm really trying to deliberately build that time in this time, because I finally got it through my stiff head that that is what works. And I don't figure out anything in front of a screen. I need to get the heck out of Dodge, whether that means a 2-day road trip or whether that means 2 hours on a trail every day, whatever it happens to mean. I need to start looking at that as work time and not as like cheating time because I'm not at my desk, because I don't operate at desks at all very well. So that is really what's been going on from the personal and mindset piece of this journey for me this week. So that's a huge update. Again, go over to the, check the links around this blog post. You will see the links to the competition stuff. You'll see the links, to updates and everything else. If you want to go over to the Facebook group, there will be links to that. Come and join us where I'm talking about this more. And I will just keep you updated as plans come up. Next week, I'm going to be really looking at these promotion schedules and this free training series and nailing down that schedule. So that is what's up with me. For those of you in America, have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. For everybody else, have a fantastic weekend yourselves. Take Monday off, celebrate with us, and I will catch you over the next few days. Have a good one.